All right, can anyone hear me? Looks like it's working. Cool, cool. Stream might be a little bit choppy. My laptop's pretty taxed at the moment with all the stuff that it's doing. So this is my explainary for doing the projector mapping. This is something I kind of messed with for the New Year's Eve stream. I think I spent more time doing the projector mapping than I did the actual patch that I played because I kind of fell into it. So looking into it, there are kind of two pieces of software that were kind of the main ones. One was Heavy M, which is the one I end up using. It's about 199 bucks. I just got like the monthly one. Um, the main one that's kind of the uh, industry standard. It's a bit more expensive at 500 bucks, but it's apparently a lot more powerful. Um, but a bit of a steeper learning curve. Heavy M, I think, for me was a pretty good mix. So this is projector mapping that I've got going here. I've got kind of a shader going in the background here, and then just a solid color over here at the moment. So I'm going to go over kind of how you use the software. I'm not going to go really deep into it. I'm just going to show you the main features that I used. I think there's a lot that I haven't really even touched on yet. So I've got my desktop PC thing here. So this is the software here. This is the current setup. I will come back to that, but I'm going to show you kind of the process that I use from the start to do the mapping. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to start a new project here. Okay, it's crashed. It has done that a few times. It's not the most stable software, but I think once you get it going, it's okay. So I'm going to create a new project, and you start with this blank screen here. You can select an output here. So I've got a projector set up as a second screen. I'm going to output that. It's just outputting black at the moment, so it doesn't look like much. I've got the projector up over here, kind of pointing down towards my rack here. So I've actually got a split screen here that should work to show you what we do here. So let me expand this up a little bit so we can see the toolbar. So Heavy M works around these shapes, which is how you map the different things onto it. So if I drag a square onto the canvas, you can see here that it's putting that out to the projector. And there's an option here where I can select show cursor. Okay, so this is kind of showing me on the projector where the cursor is. And to begin with, I basically just did an outline of my rack. So you can zoom in here and you can kind of drag. And if you see on the actual stream, you can kind of choose where the shape is. And then, yeah, I basically went through and did an outline of the rack. So it helps to kind of look at the rack as you're doing it, and look at the stream. So I'll head back to, because that's going to take me some time to kind of do that again from scratch. But that's basically how you map. And I'd recommend you start with doing all of the shapes for the different areas that you want to project to, and then start looking at add effects from there. So I'm going to open up this project. Let's start with this one here. Going to set the output to the projector. Okay, something has really gone wrong here. 1 second. Okay, let me go back to this. Yeah, so sorry, I'm just looking at the chat here. Is that projector on the wall or a layer in OBS? Yeah, so everything that you're seeing in this view here, other than the Stogo shuffle down in the bottom corner, is purely just the projector mapping. So this up here is projector mapped. So let me go back to this split screen. So yeah, as you can see, we have here just a blank color, and I've got a blue color up here, and then I've got that shader, and the shaders are quite cool. So let me bring this out so we can see. I've loaded up just a few different ones, but it's really easy to kind of switch shaders. And each shader has a bunch of cool parameters here that you can change to be set to kind of static values. Or we have different modulations that we can do. Looks pretty familiar. So we have a sine wave. Whoa. And the cool thing about this, let me slow that down because that's quite sickening. There you go. Is everything is based on a tempo. So down here we have tempo of the music. So actually I'm going to change that. That's actually quite sickening. Let's see if we can find. Here's the one that's less offensive. Yeah, I should put at the front that there's a flashing lights warning on this. So we have here a tap tempo. I've got 120 BPM, and you can have sync, which is cool. So I've actually got a simple patch at the moment, which is just going at 120 BPM. So that's kind of a cool way to sync the visuals. You can choose different so that's kind of cool. But yeah, these shaders are really fun to play around with. You can layer them, you can do all sorts of stuff. Over here I've laid out the different layers for different elements, and anyone familiar with Photoshop, you have all sorts of things in here like blend mode, so you can do all sorts of cool stuff. So yeah, the main building blocks are these shapes, and this shader here is what is called a player, which is the other main, which is this item here. The player itself can do video, it can do GIFs. That's what Waffle here is using. And if we see here in these sources, we have shaders, but you can also bring in webcams, NDI streams. I'm pretty sure you can capture output. So if you use software like Synesthesia, I haven't messed with any of that, but there's no reason why you can't actually stream Synesthesia into the projector mapping and have Synesthesia projected on your wall, which is kind of cool. All these shapes, you can group them, which can give you some cool effects. So I had something going here for the top case. I've basically got this split up into 4 different modules. So you can see I can turn them on and off individually. And any shapes that are in a group share the different settings. So the settings that we have for it are cool kind of outline effects, which we can switch on here. So yeah, it's split into 3: outlines, then fill. There's this transformation I haven't messed with, but I'm going to turn off the color fill so that we can see the lines. So because all of these 4 are in the same group, they share the same settings, but we do have cool things. We have phase offsets here that we can mess with some of the parameters. And what that does is it kind of offsets each item in the group so that they're not all in the same time. Duplications is kind of cool. Lets you do different things with lines, which is kind of cool. One thing I thought was cool, also messing with it. Let's just do a color. Is this snake option? You can basically draw, if you have multiple objects in a group, you can draw a path through it. So start here, go to the right, and you can apply that path. You'll kind of do them in a sequence. So if we turn this on, we can see now that it's going to be turning on the color and the special, in this case just the color, and it's going to do that to the tempo. And with the tempo you can do different multipliers and all sorts of cool stuff. Cool. So this sorry, looking at the chat, this software is called Heavy M. The background itself is a shader, so let me go into that. So this is a background. It's a player, but it's doing a shader. So let's take a look at some of the other shaders we have. They're kind of really cool. I think you can download and write your own. These are all, I think, code-based rather than video-based, and you can apply them to videos. So if we turn that one on, that's pretty cool. And because they're all code-based, they have all these parameters, which are pretty cool. Something else that I have been messing with just today, let me go back to, let's do this one. Okay, so here I have Waffle flying through the clouds. On my rack here I have set up just some CV to MIDI, because in this software you can actually map a lot of these parameters to MIDI. So we can hear this drum beat that I've got going in the background. And I thought I actually had that mapped to, okay, so let's go to the background. So bear with me 1 second. Let's go back to the clouds. It may have actually been this one that I had it mapped to. Control settings, MIDI. Okay. So it was this one. So wait 1 second. So bear with me 1 second, because I think this is worth it, because it's pretty cool. I think I need to restart a service real quick. So I've actually had to set up MIDI over the network, so I've got some weird Rube Goldberg machine of MIDI and video going across 2 PCs, because my work laptop isn't powerful enough to run OBS and this mapping software, because it doesn't have a very good GPU, which is something I should mention. This software does use a lot of GPU. So if you've got a good graphics card, there we go. So what I've got here is I've got just a decay envelope on this kick drum, and that is being sent over MIDI, being converted to like a CC. You can have this react to sound. So if you don't want to go through setting up MIDI, you can actually have this react to sound. So for example, let's say this one here, you've got all of these different modulations, and you can have it set to like bass, mid, high, and you can actually down here configure which frequencies you want it to do. So yeah, anyway, this is being based off the kick drum, and I've also got a second voice in here, which is just a filter sweep, which is linked to the opacity. You can see here the opacity is kind of going down. So you can do kind of cool stuff like that, and because it's all based on the signals, it means even when you change it, you can kind of do it on the fly. Also means you can just like hook up a lot of these parameters to just like to a knob and kind of tweak them on the fly manually. And if you were to change the drum beat, so yeah, all of these different what are they called, shaders, these all came with it. I haven't downloaded any extras, but that's all completely built in. But yeah, you can add videos, GIFs, and all sorts of stuff. It also has a pretty robust sequencer, I've heard. Haven't messed with it, but if you had a song, you could totally sequence out the different visuals and transitions and whatnot. So yeah, that's about the extent that I've used it. I think it is pretty powerful. I think it's worth looking into. It's like $39 for a month or whatever. I'm probably going to end up buying the full version to kind of mess with. The projector I'm using is just a cheap one. I think I got for $100. The first projector I used from the library was a much brighter projector, and that did get better results. But even with this cheap low lumen LED projector, it still looks pretty good. This is like a 720p projector, so it's not even really high def, but just to get some cool shapes and stuff and visuals. I'm sure some people that use synesthesia and a lot of that other software, if they hooked it up to this, I think it'd be pretty cool. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions in the chat. Otherwise I'll wrap this up. I'm just going to play with some of the shaders and filters while I wait for questions. Yeah, modeling my room. I did go over that a little bit. It's pretty simple. So let me kill that drum beat first. Modeling the room is basically just through these shapes. So we have here. I think I've actually locked him. Where are we? Sorry, yeah, there is one other cool thing that I wanted to show. Because you can bring in streams as inputs, you can actually, I've got my EMS stream itself outputting as an NDI stream, and then I've hooked that in as an input here, which means I can turn on the stream. Let me switch back over to the split screen. So I've actually got, it looks kind of weird now because it's like streaming, but I've put a shape of my case, and then I put my stream as an input, and basically limit it to the case. So there's the entire stream, which is kind of gives you some cool kind of feedback effects. But I put the stream in here and kind of lined up the case in my stream with the case in my projector mapping, which if I switch it back to just this view, I'm kind of projecting an image of my case, so you can kind of see my hand there. It's kind of a cool ghost hand effect. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I did go over it, but it's basically just drawing lines. So all of these things here are shapes. So let me do the split screen. I'll go over it a little bit more because I didn't go over it in great detail. It's essentially dragging these shapes here. See here, this is a circle, and mapping your room is basically just like dragging the shape around to where you want it. So you can see here, my name tag up here is kind of diagonal on the mapping software, but it's kind of square-ish in the stream, and that's basically just me dragging this around. So it's pretty easy because you kind of have instant feedback. You just kind of look at the wall and drag things around, and that's what I did with the case. It's basically just these polygon shapes where you kind of drag things around, and that's the extent of the mapping. There's no like 3D modeling or anything. It's basically just shapes. So yeah. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, anyone. If anyone has questions, feel free to hit me up in the chat. But I'm sure, I think just downloading and playing with it, you'll pick it up pretty quickly. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be when I play with it. There's a free demo that you can play with. It just kind of fades in this really big logo over your entire setup, which isn't good for streaming, but for playing around with the software, it's good. Cool. All right. Thanks. Catch us all later.